Hello everyone! Today's a pretty special episode because I'm celebrating 2,000 of you following me on here, which is pretty big to me. I'm very grateful, and so I thought I'd do a Q&A to answer questions about art and, basically anything you had. So I put out a request for questions on Patreon, YouTube and Instagram, and I'm going to tackle some of those today. If you don't hear me answer your question today, I will save it for my next Q&A video. If you're painting, I hope that you have fun listening. If you are sat there watching, I hope you enjoy seeing this painting come into existence on the screen. So I'm going to start with my first question, and that is from Sam. She said, what do you find most difficult when drawing anatomy? I have to say legs. I find the lower part of anatomy really and hips really strange. Most of the time that I've been drawing and painting, I've kind of done waist up shots. So I know that that's definitely an area I need to work on more. Learning the bone structure and then the muscle structure, and then trying to kind of move the legs into different positions and start tackling some of the things that I don't like doing, because that, I've said before, that's when I don't know how to do something. You can't enjoy something if you don't know how to do it. So not fully anyway. So before COVID-19, I was going to life drawing classes, and that was actually really helping. A lot of kind of gestural line work and stuff. And I was really starting to enjoy anatomy in that way. So I'm really looking forward to being able to go back, hopefully at some point next year. Amber asked me, what do I do to push myself out of my comfort zone? So I kind of touched on that just now, actually. I do things that I'm not comfortable doing. And I guess that's the definition of pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, right? But I actually really enjoy challenging myself. I've been trying to paint hair a little bit lately. Because if you've been following my work for a while, you will know that I just do a solid flat colour for hair. And I'm trying to teach myself how to add in sort of carve out shapes to try and create planes to the hair, I suppose, just in the same way that I build form around a face too. So yeah, long story short, I try things that I don't like doing to see if I can get better. And so that's how I push myself out of my comfort zone, by saying, what do I want to do better? And how am I going to do that? And then just doing it, not procrastinating. I am a really big procrastinator. I'm no good at I really have to be in the mood, but I try and take it on, I guess. Amber also asked me what my biggest art bugbear is. And I hope this goes down well, because I mean it with as much respect as you can imagine me saying it with, but it's when people comment or message you saying, can I have a shout out? Can you follow me? Or can you check out my work? It makes artists feel used and like there's not a person on the other side of the username. And for me, it doesn't piss me off. I just think it's a shame, because it's not going to ingratiate you with anyone. But also anybody that sees it in the comments is going to go, nope. It's going to hinder your growth, if anything. And so what I want to say today is that if you've ever tried it, just know it doesn't work. Don't be embarrassed about it, because you know the alternative. The alternative is to build lasting relationships with your community. Build a following organically through getting to know people that are into a similar field of art as you, or a completely different field of art as you. Let things run their course and enjoy the interaction with other artists, enjoy the learning process, and things will follow. I know it's easier said than done. Just know that everybody, even artists with 2 million followers, started with 0 followers. And the route to success is not asking people that you've never spoken to before for support. That's all I'm going to say about it. But Amber, you've sent me off on one. Okay, moving on. Lisa asked me if I could use only one colour for the rest of my life, what would it be? I think we could probably all say it together at this point. It's Payne's Grey. But I don't think my art would be very interesting if that was the only colour I ever used. But yeah, it's my favourite. Lee asked me, when you paint, do you listen to or watch anything? If so, what's your go-to? So I always have to have something on in the background. I have to have something that pulls part of my brain away from what I'm doing so I can kind of get into this like almost meditative trance. My playlist has some older Billie Eilish on there, some new Billie Eilish, 21 Pilots. I've got some Marilyn Manson, but some of the softer stuff. I do like the heavier stuff, but some of the softer stuff for concentrating. I've got some Muse on there. I've got some Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande. I've got some Sheryl Crow, like really early 90s Sheryl Crow, Tuesday Night Music Club album. I've got a bunch of songs from that album on it. It's so fantastic. And people that I know are like, how can you like all these genres of music? But I guess people find it a bit confusing that I go from Funeral for a Friend to Lissy, you know? I don't know. And then on TV, Mr. Robot is a fantastic series. I just binged that, brand new from season 1 to season 4. I've just finished season 3 of The Handmaid's Tale, which I think is possibly one of the best dystopian TV shows ever made, let alone the book. I mean, just really, really amazing stuff. Never been more nervous watching a TV show and kind of scared for, you know, the fact that it could I don't know, let's not go into it, but the fact it scared me, and it's very, very rare that a TV show or something visual like that can have such an effect on me. I thought it was excellent. And then one of my go-tos, especially when I'm feeling anxious, because I've seen it a million times and I really don't have to concentrate, is Gilmore Girls. So I guess my taste in television is similar to my taste in music, completely mixed. Another one from Amber, who asked me, how do I balance the demands of my daytime job with my art? So a couple of you actually asked me this. Isani Art, B. Mori, Hills Art, and Ruxijubliano, I hope I've said your name right, all asked me about, am I working? Am I still working? Do I have a day job? I do. I'm in buying. I develop products for a retailer and I negotiate cost prices and things like that. And if you don't know what a buyer does, my husband always cringes when I say this, but if you don't know what a buyer is, it's what Rachel from Friends does when she goes to Ralph Lauren. That should kind of give you an idea, but it's not as glamorous as the Friends writers made it out to be. It's a lot of hard work. So I have a full-time job. So I'm making YouTube videos in my evenings and weekends, and I have a very understanding husband who's very good at allowing me to kind of pursue my dreams and try and make this art thing take off. So I'm still working. And I really love my job, I have to say. It exercises the like logical problem-solving side of my brain, and then I get to be really creative in my evenings and not approach things logically. It's a nice balance. Anna asked me if I've ever done digital art. I have. It was a long time ago, actually. It was 2018, I think, around Mermaid. Here are some examples of my digital art. I just messed about with styles and I tried loads of stuff, and I really admire digital artists. I really do, but it just wasn't for me. I think I'd probably try it again, but for me, personally, there's nothing quite like seeing paint melt into paper and the brushwork kind of come to life. And I know a bunch of digital artists that would say exactly the same thing about their craft as well, that they see similar things in using digital art. So maybe I'll try it again one day. But yeah, these are my attempts. You can see those. It was a while ago. Josh Andrew asked me, do you think your zodiac signs affect your art in any way? Yes, I think so. I'm not really like massively up on my horoscopes. I feel like when I see something, so my friend Callie, who's Coffee Cats on Instagram, she's always posting stuff because we're both Taurus. She's always posting stuff about like Taurus memes, and I'm like, I feel so attacked like every time I see her stories when she shares something like that. And so I like completely relate to them. But about my art, yes, I do see it. Possibly not maybe in my themes, but in the way that I approach what I'm doing in my spare times. This kind of links to the question before. I'm intensely stubborn. When I have my mind set on something, it's not going away, and I'll put my all into it. And I kind of won't accept no for an answer in terms of sort of my approach to doing what I want. And that's not getting what I want. That's just, I want to get better at painting. I want to get better at rendering skin. I want to get better at drawing legs. So I think my persistence is kind of linked to that stubborn side of the Taurus trait, I guess. Okay, now some from you guys on YouTube. S. Ahmed asked me, what is my favourite part of using watercolour? I think it's like 10 layers in when the tonal and like hue variation is really starting to show itself. It's either that or it's when I'm done with all that and then I add the features to the face, the eyebrows, the lines around the eyes, the darkness in nostrils, the corners of the mouths. It brings the face to life. And I think seeing that suddenly happen and you're like, God, everything I did without that information on the painting worked without that information being on the painting yet. Yeah, I think that's the moment where I'm like, oh, it's working out. It makes me very happy, that moment. Jenna asked me, have you ever been through a period of art pieces that you don't like, whether they don't come out as planned, are bad, not what you expected? How do you move on from that? I have to say, just the advice I gave you earlier, learn with some kind of structured system. So say it's like you're not liking the way that you're drawing heads, go back to Andrew Loomis, go and look at Proco videos, learn from someone on the internet or in a book and practice in their method, and you'll see a breakthrough in your work, I promise you. This year I studied the Loomis method more than I had before, and I hope it's not big-headed to say, but I see a big difference in the way that I'm shading portraits and I'm colouring them as well. I studied the planes of the face. So it's kind of give yourself that big leap forward by studying. It may not happen straight away. It may happen that you study and then put it into practice and you're still not happy, and you study and you put it into practice again. But the more you do it, the more confident you're going to become. And the more you practice, the closer your skills are going to get to your ability to see. Because I think from the sounds of it, that's what's bothering you at the moment, is that you know how to do it, but maybe you can't quite because it's not coming out how you imagined it. And it comes down to practice, but not just drawing all the time. Drawing in a really structured way and learning and then putting it into practice. So you also said you find that you get crippling anxiety and will go days on end staring at the page and telling myself that I will do it, but I don't, especially with watercolours. I find I just have an extreme case of perfectionism. I had a tutor at university. I went to quite a big fashion school, and there's one lesson that I remember from that fashion school. Her name is Alice, and she was a pattern cutting tutor. She was fantastic. And I was sat there staring at this block of clothing patterns that I kind of was like, I can't figure out how to do this. I was trying to work it out mathematically on the actual pattern pieces. And I asked her for some help, and she said, I'm going to give you some advice. Just fucking do it. And what she meant was cut it out, sew it, put it on the mannequin, and work, like pin all the excess away and everything else that you're doing, and work out what's gone wrong. I have that in my head all the time when I stall. When I'm staring at something and I'm afraid of ruining it, or I'm afraid that it's not working out. You have to make those mistakes in art. You have to fail, because that's how, unfortunately, that's kind of a lot of how we learn. And happy mistakes happen as well. You know, we make things that we're like, oh God, I really like the way that worked. Try and replicate it. Okay, I don't like the way that worked. Well, what about it do I not like? Step away from it, come back and reassess. That's how I get past it. I always have her in my head saying that. So if I can pay that advice forward as kindly as I can, obviously without the swear word, it's just persevere, because it's really clear that you love art, and it would be a real shame if that fear of failing or fear of not doing it right crippled you into not proceeding. So please persevere. Marina said, hi James, if I recall it well, you said that you love sci-fi books. So do I, which is the latest sci-fi novel you really enjoyed? I've not really been able to read much through the pandemic. Hi Marina, by the way. That was a really nice message. Yeah, I've not really been able to read much. I'm currently reading Armada, I've forgotten his name, but he's the guy that wrote Ready Player One, because I loved Ready Player One. I just thought it was really good fun. But I also really loved the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. I'm not going to lie, I saw the new Hunger Games on the front cover and I was like, okay, fine, let's give it a go. And that series has developed not into the new Hunger Games, but into like Game of Thrones in space. It's astoundingly good. But yeah, I ate my way through that series. I also have Children of Time as well on my bedside table to read when I'm done with Armada, and I'm really excited about that one. That was actually recommended by the guy in the bookshop. But yeah, sci-fi books. I don't like high sci-fi. I don't like the like pew 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 of like. I do like books like that, but I prefer things that are comments on the human condition. Becky Chambers. If you like sci-fi, you can't go wrong with her books. She's carved out this really amazing niche in the world of sort of sci-fi novels that is just so wonderful. And again, it's not all kind of space battles and things. It's kind of human stories told in the context of the future and told with devices, like story devices that are still relatable, because I think we can feel our technology going in that direction. But it's more about the human story and the kind of psychological story behind her characters. Just wonderful stuff. If you read one thing this year, you need to read A Close and Common Orbit. It's just wonderful, about an android that is, I guess, trying to understand what it's like to be human. Fantastic work. Okay, I'm going to move on to some questions from Instagrammers as well. So Magical Sparkles asked me, why did I start a YouTube channel? I think for some sort of form of posterity, just to kind of leave my mark. I like teaching. I like the fact that it's kind of a record of where I've been and where I'm going. So I definitely make them for myself as much as for you guys. So yeah, teaching and for posterity, I think. I like this one because it's just a bit fun. I really hope I say this correctly. Watercolour. Please correct me if I've said that wrong. Asked what my favourite animal is. I remember I was asked this question once. I went for an interview to work on the shop floor at Dolce & Gabbana on Bond Street in London when I was like 19 or 20 years old. And they asked me that in the interview and I was like, a T-Rex. And I was like, why the fuck did I say that? T-Rex like eat other animals. They're really aggressive. They're just going to see that as like, anyway, I just thought you'd like that story. I thought that they'd think it was like an edgy answer, maybe. You know those moments where you look back on your life and you're like, that was cringe. It's not a big deal. Nobody remembers it other than me. How funny would it be if they remembered it? Okay, now I'm going down a little like paranoid rabbit hole. I'm going to move on. No, my favourite animal, my cat. Is that a cop-out? But my cat, she's my favourite animal. She's my bestie. Elezreal, my friend Alice over on Instagram, asked, if I could live anywhere, where would you move to? I'd move to the beach, but not a sunny beach necessarily. I really like the north coast, like up in the northeast coast, like up in Hornsey. And I also really like it on the south coast of England, sort of around like just opposite the Isle of Wight on the mainland. It's kind of sort of where I say grew up, spent lots of my summers when I was a kid and lots of my holidays. And yeah, I feel really at peace by the sea and I want to live there. If you were to choose just 4 art supplies for the rest of your life, which ones would you pick? I would pick my Shimmering Gold Dale Rowney ink. I would pick my Winsor & Newton paints, professional series paints. I would pick my Betty Hayways brushes, and I would pick Arch's watercolour paper, cold press. I am foregoing Jelly Roll pens here though. I got one from Samantha who asked my favourite limited colour palette. So if I could like only have 3 paints, it would be Pyrrole Red, like a Hansa Yellow Medium or Benzimidazole Yellow. So quite warm, but not too warm. and then French ultramarine, because those three go really nicely together to make a whole heap of colours. I can make any skin tone I like. Yeah, those three paints. One from Natalie Marino. When is my birthday? My birthday's in May, but I'm not telling you what year. 1988. And on that note, it's probably time for me to go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a bit. Thank you so much for subscribing, because that's what this whole video has been about. I really appreciate it, and it really encourages me to make more content. I like making it anyway, as you know, for myself, but it just means a lot that you'd even watch. So I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I hope to speak to you in the comments as well. And a massive thank you to my patrons for your support over on Patreon. I really couldn't do this without you. I really, really appreciate it. I hate signing off videos, so I'm just going to say goodbye. Bye!